Hello, everyone. On today's podcast episode, I'm going to talk about the future, and how humanity as a whole, we tend to look forward to the future and how, there's so many people begging for, flying cars and robots and all that. And, a world like, this, if you ever, watched a movie before, you've heard of the Star Wars series, right? Those sci-fi stories, movies. There's so many people in this world who, yearn for that lifestyle, but what they don't, take into account is that lifestyle, it follows the mindset of the grass is always greener on the other side. You know, have you heard that saying before? The grass is always greener on the other side. People that always yearn for the future, that always yearn for, you know, living on Mars, living on all these different planets, traveling to different worlds, exploring different worlds. They never take into account that even if the world changes and you go into the future, right, you will still be you. The world changes, but you're still the same person. So you'll still be stuck with the same issues that you're stuck with right now. You know, the same problems that you have will still be probably the same. Although the world would have changed, you will still be struggling with the same things that you have. It may even be worse than now. The life you have now may actually be way better than the life you get in the future. The world we have now may actually be way better than the world we have in the future. When you think about the future, you only think about the upsides, You only think about the upsides of, of a sci-fi world, of a sci-fi future with flying cars, robots and all that. You never think about the downsides of it, you know. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with the upsides, of having, there's nothing wrong with a futuristic world. Is that we just have to be more down to earth when we think about it, You'll still be you, So don't expect the future to somehow change your personality into someone else's. Don't expect the future to somehow change, the things you hate or your current situation. It won't. You will still be you at the end of the day. So no matter how much the world changes, your life may not change that much. Your life may even get worse than it is right now. So, one of the things that that we're currently facing right now is that, going to Mars, there's so many people trying to, there's so many countries trying to go to Mars, trying to put, people on Mars or on the moon. But what we fail to, take into account is that there has to be some sort of regulation when it comes to going to Mars. We can't just as country as a government. Let me say in the United States, for example, right? The United States has to be very careful. When it takes people to Mars. When companies in the United States take people to Mars, there has to be very strict regulations on it. Do you know why? These companies, right, are for companies that take people to Mars. If it's not NASA, right? If it's NASA, it's different. If it's NASA that's taking people to Mars, then chances are it'll be scientists first. The scientists will go down, go to Mars, figure things out, get things done, and then slowly but surely, maybe they may sell the technology to regular, average Joe companies, but as far as we know, it'll be government, government controlled. It would be a government controlled operation. So that there won't be that much of a problem when it's government controlled. At least, when it comes to the citizenship, citizens going to Mars, it'll be more controlled. It'll be more like, citizens moving to, Puerto Rico or different, the little colonies of the United States. But if it's companies going to Mars, that's a whole different game. You know why? You know why? Companies are for profit. They only care about money, right? Since many of these companies only care about money, if they take people to Mars, guess what? The lives of these people will be in the hands of these companies. If these companies decide, to turn, first, companies usually follow this, this mindset. First, they'll say, you can go to Mars, right? If you give us like $1,000, let me just use $1,000 as a rubric, as a benchmark. Chances are it'll be like $1 million. Rich folks can go to Mars for $1 million, right? Maybe in the future, like 10 years later, it'll be like $1,000 or maybe $50. But at the very beginning, it'll be like $1 million. So in order to go to Mars, a company will tell you, pay us $1,000 to go to Mars, right? And then once you get there, once they take you to Mars, right? Guess what they'll start doing? They'll start telling you that, oh, because we have this issue, we have that issue. In order for you to stay in Mars, stay on Mars, you have to continue paying us money. And the people, who live on Mars will have no choice but to, find a way to pay these companies money in order to stay on Mars. And because these people are on Mars, right, they may not be able to come back home. Even if these companies have a method to bring them back home, well, guess what? That method costs money, right? That method costs money. And this company is already telling you that they don't have enough money to keep you on Mars. Do you really think they'll have enough money to take you back home? Chances are no. So guess what? Some of these companies will end up killing people. The people that they take to Mars could end up getting killed and manipulated and bullied by these companies for more money. These for-profit companies could manipulate these people that are stuck on Mars and try to steal as much money from them as possible. So you, as someone who wants to go to Mars, in the future, someone decides to invent, the perfect spaceship that can take you to Mars and live on Mars, and then you end up, paying for that, and then you realize you're stuck on Mars. And the worst part of it is, not only are you stuck on Mars, the people that your life is hanging by a thread, with the people that have your life, under their control. These companies have zero morals whatsoever and will kill you there on Mars if you don't give them more money. Now you're stuck on Mars, and there's an evil company there trying to force money out of your bank account here in the United States. They'll tell you to sign, wagers. They tell you to sign this. They tell you to sign that, and then they'll try to force more money from you. Because you're stuck on Mars. In order for you to leave Mars, guess what? You still need them, since they're the one who brought you to Mars. In order for you to leave Mars, you need their approval. And if they don't give you that approval, you're not gonna be leaving Mars anymore. And they can kick you out of the, whatever spaceship, whatever way you're living in Mars. They can kick you out into the Martian surface, for you to die there. They can kick you out of the pods, the pod that you're living in, right? If you're living, if they make it into a pod or just a spaceship in and of itself, they just docked on Mars, right? You can just, use a spaceship, fly a spaceship over to Mars, land on Mars, and just live inside that spaceship. That's an option. The other option is, to just build pods on Mars, right? You build pods on Mars, but either way, unless you can turn the whole Martian surface into a breathable world, these companies have, full control over your life, and they can kill you anytime they want. And you have no way, no say about your life after the moment you leave planet Earth and enter their spaceship. Your life from then on is under their control, and they can do whatever they want with your life. That's the future we're going to. These companies could actually even colonize Mars and just turn it into their own country, if that's what they want. They have the power to do that. Because once they go to Mars, right? Once they transfer enough people to Mars, guess what? Those people, rely on these companies or this company, whatever company is required, whatever company builds the spaceship, that takes you to Mars. Guess what? These people, need this company or these companies to live on Mars. So so their lives are pretty much, So their lives are under the control of these companies. And if their lives are under the control of, these companies that only care about money, guess what? Their lives will be always at risk of, of death, premature death, violence, brutality, cruelty, slavery. The amount of things you have to go through when a very, greedy company, takes over your life, has full control over your life is way too much. So this is what you have to deal with. In the future, when you hear about people going to Mars, you have to really think about it. Is it really worth it? You know how companies are. First when they want you as a customer, they tell you, oh, you only have to pay once. You only have to pay once, or sometimes they give you 2 months free. You can come in for 2 months. And then once they have you as a customer, that's when they change the rules. After you become a customer, they change the rules, right above your head. And then, something that you paid only once, they tell you have to, they'll change it to a subscription. Now you have to pay every month for something that you already paid for. You've already paid for it, but now they'll make up an excuse, bring out whatever excuse they can, and then force you to start paying monthly for something you've already paid for in full. So if you allow companies, to take people to Mars, guess what? The lives of these people will be in the hands of these companies. And if these companies are shady companies, because not all companies are shady companies. Some companies are actually pretty kind to the customers, but not every company is kind to their customers. If the company that that's taking people to Mars is a shady, evil company, guess what? Now the lives of everyone on that spaceship is hanging by a thread. And if those people don't give the company more money, they may end up killing those people, right there on Mars. So that's what we have to worry about, is that the future may not be what you think it is. You may be getting exactly what you don't want. More, censorship, more control, more evil companies having way too much control over your life. You only see the upsides of a sci-fi world where, you have spaceships, you have all this, you have all that. You don't see the downside, and that is human greed. The wars that we have right now will still be there. The only difference is now, the wars will be intergalactic. There'll be, wars between countries. Wars between countries will not be wars between planets. And the worst part of it is that if let's just say if the United States, right, decides to, colonize Mars, right? If the United States decides to colonize Mars and then transfers all its citizens to Mars, guess what? Or at least the majority of them. If the United States goes to Mars and decides, transfer the majority of its citizens, or at least a sizable amount, right? The president of the United States could go to Mars right now, right? And then decide to just blow up planet Earth. You see what I'm trying to say? If we colonize Mars, right? If a country colonizes Mars, they no longer require Earth to survive. Since they no longer require Earth to survive, if they have any issues with planet Earth, they can just destroy the whole planet. Build enough, weapons on Mars, and then just, send them straight to Earth. Who cares if the Earth is destroyed? They live on Mars now. They live on Mars now. There's no point. Just launch every nuclear weapon they can on Earth, to Earth. And then, they'll be free in Mars to enjoy their life as they normally would. But everyone else in the world here on Earth will die from a nuclear storm. So that's what we have to worry about, is that now the life, once we go to Mars, once we start colonizing, the other planets, is that Earth is no longer as valuable as, we think it is. It will no longer be as valuable. Because it will no longer be as valuable, guess what? All these terrorist organizations, if a terrorist organization decides to colonize Mars before the United States, guess what? They can start throwing bombs all the way from Mars directly to the United States without the slightest care in the world that it'll destroy the planet. Why? Because they don't care. Who cares if Earth gets destroyed? They're still fine here. They're on Mars. So we have to really think about, how we regulate the future, growth in technology. Do you really think it's going to be better, in the future when we can start colonizing the, other planets? I think it's a double-edged sword. It's not what we think it is. It may not be, it may not be better than you think it is. This one may actually be, the life we live right now may actually be way better than the future where you have to worry about, the whole planet getting destroyed at any point in time because some terrorist group decided to colonize Mars. Some United States company, right, decided to colonize Mars. And as people started migrating over there, they decided, nah, we don't want to be part of the United States anymore. We want to create our own country there on Mars. And then they decide to just, they just decide to just become their own colony, their own country there on Mars. So the first one from becoming a United States company to just being their own country there on Mars, because Mars is it's its own world. What is the United States going to do about it? Nothing. The United States is all the way here on Earth, and Mars is all the way there. So if they decide to just become their own country there on Mars, the citizens there, on Mars have no choice but to follow their orders. Why? Because their lives are hanging by a thread. These companies, the CEO of that company could just decide to just become the leader of that country, of Mars, the leader of the country, and there's nothing the citizens can do about it. Because if the leader doesn't want them around, they can just kick them out. You just kick them out into the Martian surface. Let them die from all the stress and extreme heat, lack of oxygen, and all the problems there on Mars. They just kick them out. Or if they have big too many issues, they can just decide to just cut off the support to these pods and just let everybody die there. They just destroy all the machinery that they have on Mars. They just destroy it. Now everybody's dead on Mars, and the CEO's is already back here on Earth enjoying his life again. While everybody who he tricked to go into Mars are dead. So this is what we have to worry about: is that if all these technologies are fully regulated by the government, we may not get what we want. A better future. We may end up getting what we don't want: slavery. Threat of death. Violence. Murders and more crimes being committed. More weird things happening, and the chances of the entire planet Earth getting blown up. So this is what we have to worry about in the future: is that the grass is not always greener on the other side. Your life may not get better. People. If you're someone who does who's not satisfied with life right now, just because we can now colonize Mars does not mean your life will not automatically be better. You have to find ways to make your life enjoyable right now. You have to find ways to enjoy your life. You have to find ways to make your life meaningful for you. You don't expect going to Mars. Don't expect the future, sci-fi world with flying cars to automatically make you a happier person. It's not gonna make you a happier person because you'll still be you. All your defects will still be there. All your personality flaws will still be there. It won't automatically change now that we can fly to Mars. All the problems you have in your life will still be there. So if you don't change, if you don't change yourself, if you don't find ways to make your life better yourself, expecting that going to Mars and doing all this will automatically make you happier is not. It's not going to do that. Going to Mars and building a spaceship and all these things won't make your life any happier than it already is. It may even make you more miserable, because now people can go to Mars, but you can't. If you don't have that much money in your bank account, now you realize people can go to Mars, but you can't. And then a few years later, you realize as news come out, the people that went to Mars all died, and then you're like, oops, thank God I didn't go to Mars. When they were charging $1 million to go to Mars, thank God I didn't go to Mars. Thank God I didn't have enough money to to pay the $1 million to go to Mars. Now all those millionaires that went to Mars are dead. So this is what you have to be, careful of, is that you don't know the future, so don't think, life will just automatically get better for you just because, the world is now more advanced. We're living the technology is now countless times more advanced. So it automatically means you'll be a happier person. No, it doesn't. You have to make yourself happier. You have to find ways to make your life happier. You have to find ways to make your life more meaningful. You have to change your life yourself. Do not expect the world to change your life for you. If you keep waiting for the world to change your life for you, you'll realize, life goes on and now you're 60 years old and you spent your entire life miserable. So if that's your mindset that somehow the world around you changing will automatically make your life better, it's not. Your life will still be exactly the same. You know why? You are still the same person. No matter how much the world changes around you, you will still be the same person. So if you don't change your mindset, if you don't change the way you behave, if you don't change your choices, the world will not get better automatically. You have to make your world better. You have to make your life better. Don't expect the world to make your life better for you. The world already has enough technology for you to enjoy life. The world already has enough. God has already given, put enough in this world for you to enjoy life. There are many people, living a happy life as, Mormons. There are many people living happy lives, away from all this technology, all these iPhones and all this thing. And their life is happier than yours. So obviously technology does not automatically make your life happier. Most of the people in developed countries, if you follow these studies that show that, studies show that most people in developed countries are miserable, are depressed. Most people are depressed. They aren't happy. So obviously technology isn't making people happier in any way, shape, or form. It's making their life easier, but easier does not mean happier. Easier does not mean happier. So you have to find a way to make your own life happy. Do not expect someone else to make you happy. Do not expect the whole world changing to make your life happier. The world changing may bring more stress to you. It may not bring what you think is bringing to your doorstep. It's bringing something else. The grass is not always greener on the other side. You have to make your life, better by with your own two hands. Have you heard the phrase, God help those who help themselves? Yes. You reap what you sow. If you don't work hard to make your life better, your life will not get better. Stop expecting everyone around you to make your life better. You have to make your own life better. You have to make choices that make your life better. You have to make your choices that make your life more content. You have to make choices that make your life happier, that make you happier. You have to, you have to let go of the things that you don't like. It's you that has to change your life, not the world. You have to change your life, with your own two hands. Because if you don't change your life with your own two hands, your life will never change. It'll only get worse. Because you keep allowing your life to get worse with your own two hands. You watch your life get worse and you do nothing to change it. If you do nothing to change your life as you see it get worse, guess what? It's not just automatically going to get better. The world changing around you will not make your life better in any way, shape, or form. You have to make your life better. You have to make choices that make, that bring happiness to your life. You have to make choices that, bring the things you want into your life. You can't just sit around and wait for things to just happen to you. Nothing good will happen to you if you just sit and wait for it. God will not help you if you're not trying to help yourself. If you're not trying to help yourself, if you don't have the courage or the drive to help yourself, why do you expect God to help you? If God helps you, you stop blaming God for helping you. There are those people who keep praying for, God to help them do this, do that. And then when God gives them what they want, they start yelling and screaming that this is not what they want. This is not what they want. So if you don't make these choices to, look for what you want, God is not going to help you because you don't know what you want. And the only way for you to find out what you want is through your own effort. It's through effort and drive. It's through trial and error. As long as you keep trying to find out what you want, instead of just sitting there, just expecting everything to come to you, you'll never get what you want. You have to, you have to make the choices to change your life. Don't expect the world to change your life for you, because chances are, your life will only get worse. If you expect the world to change your life for you, guess what? The world does not know you. The world does not know what you want. Only you know what you want. Only you can find out what you truly want in life, not the world around you. If you don't try to find out what you truly want in life, you just sit and just wait. Guess what? Nothing's going to change in your life. Your life will only get worse. Nobody knows you more than yourself. Nobody knows you more than yourself. If you don't try to make your life better, guess what? Your life will not get better. You have to, find ways to enjoy the life that you have right now. As long as you can find ways to enjoy the life that you have right now, even if the future changes and it get worse, your life will still be happier than most people. Why? Because you figured out how to make yourself happy. You figured out how to make your life good. You figured out how to enjoy your life. As long as you don't, you have to find a way to figure out how to enjoy your life. You have to do it yourself. Don't expect the world to do it for you. So that's it for today's podcast episode. Don't expect don't expect the free ride in this world. God will help you, but at some point in time, you still have to help yourself. Helping yourself is one of the ways for you to help yourself is just cry to God. Pray to God for help. That also helps. But you still have to do the work. You can't just sit around and just wait for everything to happen to you. You can't just wait for the world to change around you and then expect the world to be perfect. That's not how this world works. You have to make your life perfect with your own two hands. Don't expect anybody else to make it perfect for you. That's it. I'll talk to you guys later.